Hello, folks. I am the old sergeant. Recently, a feminist sales lady came to my house and got very triggered just by looking at the stuff that I surround myself with. So, I thought I'd create this walkthrough to show you what things it was that made her very angry. So the saleswoman drove up, and the first thing she saw was a patriotic display. The American flag and my Air Force retirees flag. Getting out of her car, she would have saw this little garden flag. Oh my gosh, a POW MIA flag. Another military thing. And just before she got into the front door, she would have seen this at the beginning. And of course, this flag definitely would start the triggering. Coming into the house and looking up at the wall at the top, she would have seen this print, Stand Your Ground by John McLaughlin. He does a lot of religious and patriotic art. You ought to check him out. He has a lot of good stuff. But you can imagine feminists seeing this image would have just really started her head twirling. Below that, more patriotic stuff. Oh my gosh. A big bust of George Washington in his military uniform, along with a little figurine. And then the standard little figurine of the American patriot. And a cross. I don't know which of these would get her upset the worst. She would have turned left toward the living room, dining room area. And at the top of some speakers, she would have seen these flags, which, of course, you'd have the Don't Tread on Me flag again, along with some of the original flags from the very start of our country. On the other speaker, oh gosh, there is the Christian flag and the Israeli flag. Oh gosh. Oh, this is terrible. Looking down at the top of the entertainment center, she would have seen, well, a couple military things again. 2 of the helicopters I wrote software for. Some figurines of Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and Abraham Lincoln. A couple of plates that came out just after 9/11. Then looking at the coffee table, she would have seen these magazines. Newsmax, the American Legion magazine, Veterans of Foreign War, Disabled American Veterans, and then First Freedom. This is the National Rifle Association magazine. And another magazine I get with concealed carry. You can imagine what this would be doing to a feminist right now. As she turned to look toward the area of the dining room, she would have seen this print. This print is called The Accolade by Edmund Leighton. He's British, 1892 to 1922. And of course, this is Western civilization values that this represents. Below that, she would have seen this little table with lots of stuff on it to trigger her. A bust of Benjamin Franklin and a little figurine of Benjamin Franklin. The plate, John Wayne, with 2 little figurines of John Wayne. Oh, this would be terrible. John Wayne, of all people. And I'm sure she wouldn't know the last little figure on the right being George Patton. She wouldn't know Patton from anybody else. lots of little military challenge coins. And she would have seen some coins with somebody I'm sure she hated, Ronald Reagan. Looking into the dining room, and on the dining room table, she would have seen this display, the American flag and the flags of all of the armed forces of the United States. And finally, the last thing to do it would have been on the dining room wall, a picture of Christ, another little print of Christ holding the Constitution, and then copies of the Declaration of Independence and Constitution of the United States. So we sat down to look at her material, and she just looked at me. Her lips were pressed together. She was glaring at me, and she said, "I am a feminist." Well, that's kind of an odd thing to spout out, but she was pretty angry already with just the things she had seen in my house. So, of course, me being a smartass said, "Oh, you must be thrilled with President Trump because of the highest female employment rate in history and the fact that he is hiring record numbers of female executives for his administration. You must think he's great. You must be thrilled. I'm so happy for you." Oh boy, I didn't think it was possible to change that many colors and to have facial expressions like that. So we started going through the material, and it was very apparent she was trying to talk me out of any of the products their company offers, because it was obvious that if I accepted, then she'd have to deal with me again. Well, she had to go take some measurements in the den. So walking in the den, of course, there'd be at the fireplace this big patriotic display here, with the centerpiece being the shadow box I was given when I retired. And of course, we have statues of military and Statue of Liberty there. There's even a little Liberty Bell there at the feet of the Statue of Liberty. Oh, military stuff, patriotic stuff. Oh, how right-wing can a person get? I don't know if she saw this. This would probably have had her convulsing on the floor and foaming at the mouth. I'm sure this would just have taken her out. So she finishes her presentation, and as she's leaving, going down the steps to the landing to leave, she would have seen this above the door, a print called Godspeed. Another Western civilization, a woman sending her man off to war. I can't imagine how she actually made it to her car and drove to the office without crashing into anything. Well, it's a good thing she didn't see my office. It would have been this print: George Washington praying, a prayer at Valley Forge, or these little figurines. She may have dropped dead. Or maybe even this bust and figurine of Ronald Reagan. These are just some of the stuff I have around my house that she would have seen coming into my house. There's a lot of other little things around that she could have seen that could have added to her complete, utter triggering. So we have this lady come over to sell me upgrades to my house and get very angry to the point of the first thing we really say to each other when we sit down to review our material was for her to glare at me and say, I am a feminist. And then to say that, well, everybody's entitled to their opinions. In just that manner. At first I was a bit bemused about all this. But then I had time to think about it. The things that are around my house would have 50 years ago just been something that your average honorable man has. Now, my military service and my patriotism is enough for a feminist, for this woman to hold me in complete and utter contempt. She could barely control her anger. She could barely control the contempt she was showing for me. And I tried to figure out, what the hell? Feminism is something I could probably do a lot of videos about, but just a little thing here. It was never about equality. Feminism, from its very beginning, was about communism. It was about the destruction of the American family. They've been very successful. They've torn the country apart. This is extremely dangerous. It's time to not look at feminism of go girl, girl power, equal rights. That's not what it's about. It's about destroying our nuclear families. It's about ripping us apart, at the same time trying to make us the same. That we should all be drones, androgynous drones, not man or woman. I should have been very angry with her. I am the old sergeant. Stay vigilant, patriots.